Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, but first of all, I have to apologize for not having like the streaming link up early like I usually do. But I did not, or rather, well, we had a power outage last night. And so I did not have everything all up and ready. Let's make sure I got everything going here. We are getting some news. Let's see here. Come on. Bad time to launch financial news. Yes, we're getting PPI. US PPI month over month spot 7 versus an expected spot 3, and core PPI month over month spot 5 versus spot 3. So that's not going to be good for the treasuries, no sir. It's not a complete disaster, but that's definitely not good. Let's come over, take a look at where we're at in the markets. See what happened overnight. Oh, we got some rollover. Oh, it's time to move the oil, huh? Well, let's do that real quick. So I think we need to move to K, right? CLK 26. Yep. I'll change my DOM over here too. Okay, so you can see treasuries were actually up overnight, but getting hammered by that PPI. But oil, we got to take a look at oil first. Okay, well, oil came down a little bit. It is kind of chilling out. I think that the death of the Iranian security guy, it does seem that he was basically running the country. And because you notice they were doing all this stuff like, if you don't stop, we're going to start attacking energy infrastructure. And then like the very next thing that happens is there's a couple of tepid attacks on some energy infrastructure. But then that guy gets killed and now nothing. Radio silence. I don't really see very many meaningful headlines overnight, right? So that does appear to have had a significant impact, though the strait is still closed. S&P 500 also not liking that report, it seems. And kind of after a decent run up overnight, more recently here, kind of getting slammed. Gold, ooh, ouch. That don't look good for gold. Okay, silver's not. Now that's actually one of the stronger divergences between gold and silver I have seen there. Gold is just getting absolutely slaughtered this morning, and silver is, I mean, it's going down, but basically only just barely to below yesterday's low. So that's curious. What about copper? Copper's a little bit like on the longer term, a little bit more sad, but also following the other metals. Japanese yen has kind of been maybe slightly up over the last 3 days. Kind of have to zoom out here a little bit, right? Remember, this was intervention in the Japanese yen. We're back to below where we were. And I'm not even actually sure if this was actually real intervention as much as it was like job owning. I don't know if Japan actually expended capital on that, but we're lower. That's a little curious. Bitcoin also taking a dive this morning. Wait, what about the dollar? And the dollar's not moving that much. So we're getting some curious moves this morning in some of the commodity markets. I wonder, another thing is I have been seeing people say that like maybe the plunge protection team is at work and trying to push down oil. Maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna like rule it out, but I haven't really seen any very compelling evidence in the order flow, at least, that really is what's going on. So, but I just wanted to put that one out there because people have been talking about it. Oh man, when you look at it on this chart, and you see how much the S&P has dropped there, it's really kind of, what's going on over here? But I think the big thing that we got today is that we do have the FOMC interest rate decision and the press conference. And, you know, I hadn't really been thinking about, usually we're kind of like, oh, yeah, we just gotta, you know, that's like the next big hurdle to get across. We'll see what happens and then yada, 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 right? But this time, hardly any discussion about it because of the war, right? Well, I think that it's going to be a really interesting press conference because I'm not 100% sure what the Federal Reserve is going to say. I'm not 100% sure what Powell is going to say. And I'm not even sure if what Powell says even matters because he's outgoing, right? Is this his last press conference? I'm not sure if it's his last one or not. Let me see if I can find something about that. What you got here, Andre? Yeah, my Bitcoin short is starting to get creamy, and something tells me that whatever Powell will say will keep it getting creamier. Oh, really? So wait, where are you short from? How long have you been short in Bitcoin? Is that a recent position? Or have you been writing this? Because, I mean, there's got to be somebody out there. There is the anti-Uzi out there somewhere. That the day that Uzi told us that he bought some Bitcoin, he immediately went out and shorted Bitcoin and is a millionaire now. That's you know, if you got options, the right options, you could. Because I remember one time, I had some puts on MSTR, and I had kind of calculated like where I expected it to go. And if it had gone to the price that I wanted, I would have made $50,000, I think it was. And it actually totally went and did it, but a month after my options expired. So, like, if you look at from the top to where we are now in Bitcoin, especially if you had a short with options, with leverage on MSTR, those could easily be, even for like small retail traders, those could be hundreds of thousands or millions of dollar profits. Very unlikely to catch that one, but I bet you that probably somebody did. Andre says, I haven't got the capital at the top, but I built it since last week slowly. Averages at 74. And was looking to catch a dead cat bounce. Got some on the way up and used it to build this one. Well, now that's interesting. Because, you know, I am so, like, unsure about Bitcoin right now. You know? Like, okay, when it was doing this, yeah, this is bad. This is really bad. And this was kind of like the, hey, you know, it's going to drop. Again, it's going to be really bad. And this was really bad. But then it stopped. And I said, okay, well, let it do its thing now. Oftentimes I've seen, this is, you know what this looks like to me. I don't know what the correct phrasing here is, but it's the Wyckoff pattern, right? I think that stuff is complete BS. Like, I don't think that it helps you, and I wouldn't, like, take a trade because I think that it's actually showing that pattern. Okay, but this is like, right, it goes here. I think that probably the way the Wyckoff pattern happens is it has to go lower again first, and then it can pop out, right? But it's just, it's a little unusual, I think, for Bitcoin to just be sideways for so long. And I'm not sure what happens, but I hope it's down. And now I'm doubly hope it's down because Andre has a short. Let's see, what else did he say here? Andre says, my first entry idea was at 80K, but I started to think that we might go to the lower part of the range before we break out. Vital says Bitcoin miners not sure about Bitcoin. Well, aren't we like below or near kind of the break-even point for miners? I think that probably some miners are underwater. Because when we were going down, it was really looking like, man, do we have like a self-reinforcing cycle here where the price of Bitcoin is low, and so Bitcoin miners have to sell their reserves to continue operations, and that causes the price to go lower, and it just keeps going and going and going? I don't know if that's really what's going on, versus the only reason that we were up in the first place was because of a kind of a big rush due to all of the ETFs being approved. And then after the ETFs were approved, there was no reason to pay attention to it anymore, and it's just slowly dying. GK2046, how has it been? It's been a while. What is your usual name? The YouTube did some weird thing that like it changed everybody's names. So it won't show me the name that you used to use. I'm digging the new video of you beating that Jean-Philippe Pouchot drum. It really is. I really do think that at the end of the day, the big thing that most retail traders are missing, the thing that you never hear talked about in all of the trading education out there, is that the market is more statistically efficient than it is informationally efficient. I really think that is like the key revelation that is, there really is like a key revelation that like once you understand it, it's like, oh, this is why, and this, and all of your like things that confused you didn't make sense, especially when you started with markets. Because that's one of the things is that you know, we've kind of had this market gospel around for so long that they've gotten pretty good at convincing everybody that, well, everything, market is perfectly efficient. They've been really good at convincing everybody of that. So there's going to be a lot of things that like when you start trading, it won't make sense. You're like, why this and that doesn't make sense. And then people will give you explanations and you won't be satisfied, but like it quells you, like you forget about it. You forget about it and you accept the propaganda, right? And then find out market's more statistically efficient than it is informationally efficient. And in fact, it's not very informationally efficient at all. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, all the revelations come out. It really is that. And, you know, people say, well, it took me a long time to become a profitable trader, and it was a long road and all of these sorts of things. I really think that one of the reasons that happens, that like it takes a long time and then there seems to be some sort of shift, and they often aren't even sure what that shift was, as it just kind of came from experience. I really think it is your subconscious, like the neural network that you're building in your frontal lobe, realizing, even if you don't consciously realize, that the market is more statistically efficient than it is informationally efficient. Let's see here. GK says, I finally got through it. Great read, man. Dense, but really helpful. I'm the guy who used to be an EDM producer. Oh, yeah, I do kind of vaguely remember that, yeah. Oh, no, your name was just GK before, wasn't it? No, I do remember you now. I should produce more, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm just not feeling it lately. Yeah, Bitwig. There's a new version of Bitwig out too that kind of changes some things that always kind of irked me. So I kind of want to do it. Like, I always hated when, I would have a good pattern going and I'm using that pattern everywhere. And then I want to change that pattern. It doesn't just automatically update in all of the copies of the clip. But then if I have like an automation associated with that clip and I move it around, it moves the automations with it when I want to have completely different automations in there. And Bitwig has kind of fixed that. So, but there's this weird thing. So I know that this seems a little bit, what I'm going to say, it might seem like a completely different subject. How much do SPY and ES order flow differ? They could differ significantly. I've never pulled out the SPY order flow, and definitely not pulled it out and like compared it to ES. But I think that you're going to see a lot of similarities, but then some key differences that would be very difficult to explain, but probably hedging and stuff. Yeah, talk about a cliffhanger. Okay, so the point here that I'm trying to make is that like things like ambition and being like completely regulated seem to be at odds with each other. And in the beginning, when I first started electronic dance music, I was motivated, like I had ambition, right? And I've kind of let go of some of that over time, and I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. But I remember, every Friday or Saturday night, I was looking for a club or somewhere to be so that I could promote. Especially if there were like small underground parties. Those were much more effective for me. And had like a Facebook that would post music from local producers. And I released a bunch of my own tracks. I think I was always too slow. I wasn't into the like just churn tracks out. Probably would have done better if I just churned tracks out. But I don't think about it anymore. It seems to me that in our society, we are too comfortable, but not comfortable enough. And I guess maybe comfortable is not the right word. When I say not comfortable enough. So like, just as an example, there's some evidence that the reason why a lot of people get nearsighted is because your eye tends to grow more stuff at the back than it needs, because the sun rays kind of kill cells and make the eyeball shrink over time. So like when it's exposed to the sun all the time, then the eye is the right distance and you get really good vision. So nearsightedness to some extent is actually just a consequence of being inside all the time. Okay. People way back in the day used to have larger jaws. Like dental work was not nearly as common several hundred years ago. And what changed was our food all became soft. Our food all became soft, and so there's not the same pressure on your upper palate, and that pressure on your upper palate causes your jaw to elongate, makes you look better, and it prevents you from having teeth issues. There's a bunch of consequences to it. And this is, mewing. This is part of why people say you should mew, like you keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth and make sure that you're pushing up. But also, I think the real thing is that, like, especially when they're really, really young, like, because part of it is breastfeeding. Part of it comes from breastfeeding. If you don't breastfeed or suck, because the bottle, it just kind of drips out. But if the baby's doesn't have to actively suck it out, then you don't get that same pressure. And then when they're toddlers, you need to give them tough food that they have to actually chew to make their jaws come out, right? So you can see all of these cases where, like, modern life has made us too comfortable, and there are environmental stresses that we need to have in order to be our best. But on the other hand, I also see this thing where it's like this, because of ambition and because there's like so many ambitious people, we have basically created more like white collar, upper middle class educated, like highly educated people than we actually need, and they're all going after the same jobs, and it's a little ruthless. There's been a lot of things, and even in tech companies, where it's like, because of the ranking system and stuff, like people will rank other people poorly to try and get rid of them because they're competition, right? And you're constantly working to try and climb the ladder, per se, and there's kind of a limit because there's only so many middle management positions, and it actually kind of seems that we've overhired middle management positions, but that's what everybody wants to kind of go and get to. And then you come home, and a lot of people have these debts. They have student loans. It's like impossible to own a house, right? So people never relax, right? But you never get into this cozy state where you feel safe, you wind down for the day so you can have a good sleep, you bond with your family, things like that, right? And I've seen that through here. Like, we've been doing, I've seen that through my family because I've been doing writing before I go to sleep. And since I started doing that, I sleep better. And I turned the iPads off earlier. The boys go to sleep faster. But then the social media in particular, so like you should have activities that you do to relax. And it seems that when your activity is browsing Facebook, that keeps you in that elevated state. So do you see what I mean? That it's like we're too comfortable, but we're not comfortable enough. It's just in different domains, right? There's one domain is like the environmental factors. We're not exercising enough. We're not experiencing enough environmental stress. Like it seems like to me, sometimes you need to be too hot and sometimes you need to be too cold. Yeah, I read this thing. I told you guys about this yesterday, didn't I? That there was this guy on Reddit, and I don't know if it's for real because it's on Reddit, so you never know. But he said that he would ice his balls for a year, 3 times a day for a year, and his testosterone doubled. That says to me, maybe the reason that we're seeing declining testosterone among men in the Western world is that we're too comfortable. That we're sitting and perfectly climate controlled, and you want to stay warm, and actually you need to be a little bit cold all the time, right? But then the activities that we're doing and the way that we're structuring our lives and the way that the modern life has kind of been organized is basically keeps you on edge all the time. And then people burn out. And so I have taken much more to, take care of that first. Take the 90 minutes before bed to wind down. That helps more. And as I've been doing it, I've been better. I definitely feel like I've helped with my family. I also did a couple of things like I was kind of felt like my wife was starting to be a little ADHD. And I started to give her well, I'm not started to give her, but I got her a BCAA supplement, like thiamine, and I've definitely noticed a difference. She seems, in fact, she was overly productive yesterday. She got too much done yesterday. I have to mention my wife every day now, because apparently if I say something about her, then she feels the need to go and view the replay of the stream. Isn't that funny? And she was complaining yesterday. She was complaining that like I don't read out the comments enough because she couldn't see the comments on her replay. So she's like, "Who are you talking to?" And I can't read the comment to know why you're saying what you're saying. So I have to mention her every day. So let me go back here. GK has a question. We'll come to that one in a second. Andre says, yes, I think we might mention the same thing actually from different directions. Taking care of both your limbic friction and nervous system is key to actually feeling better and more capable. That is true, and giving it controlled stress only makes it stronger. Yes. Well, and the thing that I've learned from weightlifting is that your nervous system is a component of your body that you can train, and you know, it's just like a muscle. You can train it, it gets tired, which is something that you kind of have to consider with training, because you can do a really heavy workout. It's lifting the really heavy stuff is the thing that really puts the pressure on your central nervous system, and your central nervous system will kind of be like depressed afterwards, and that can result in less what do we say, like control, like you don't want to make lots of really hard decisions after that, because you're going to have less self-control. It's really interesting. Do you have a photo together with my wife? I'd have to really dig deep to find a picture with together. You know what I was doing? I'll show you something. Actually, do I? No, I probably don't have new credits yet. Oh, maybe I do. Maybe I do. Because I saw... I got a bunch of thoughts. Wait, look, maybe let me go back here a little bit. Let me make sure that I'm just like... Andre says, yes, your nervous system and body work together. A lot of people neglect one or both. JK asks, do you ever do jujitsu? The fighters I used to train with were the calmest guys I met. Their peacefulness is also almost off-putting. No, I've never done that, actually, but that does seem to make sense. So something I did yesterday was I came across... okay, so I remember what I was going to say. I would say that my wife is pretty basic in terms of like style and things like that. She really is just like basic white girl. Okay, the daughters are even worse, but you know that she doesn't have some sort of hobby or like preferred style of things that's like really stands out. She does really like flowers. Okay, so like you buy her something, like clothes, they have flowers. She likes that. She really likes purple, right? So one of the things that I think is kind of funny is to find things that I don't think she would ever wear or want or do, right? So I found this picture. Wait, I have to, yeah, I don't know how to show this one. It was on Instagram. So it's so being weird. Hold on a second, because I don't want to show the whole. I mean, it's not like anything too bad, but she's like in a bikini and we just want to see her face. Okay, so we had this girl, right? That had like the side of her head was shaved, and I really like the way that her hair is kind of like braided along the side there, right? So I was trying to see if I could get the AI to give her that hair. So here's my wife. This is a picture of her just before we met. So this is like 10 years old, to be honest with you. And then this is what ChatGPT did, which I did not like at all, because it didn't, first of all, it didn't pick up on the things that I really liked about the haircut. And then it changed her face. And then I tried, okay, maybe it's just the blonde. So I let it do blonde, and it kind of kept her face a little bit better, but it just looked terrible. It just looked terrible. But I wonder, I have the pictures on my phone, so I'd have to do it on my phone. By the way, am I getting news here and I'm just not hearing it? Chancellor Reeves, it's frustrating that there doesn't seem to be a plan for Hormuz Strait closure. Well, they tried to put a plan, and then you all said, no, we don't want anything to do with it. So Trump was just like, I'm okay, I'm just gonna deal with it all myself. And I don't feel like that's fair, but you know what? Coming from the UK, whatever. ChatGPT messed up because it's Gemini, says GK. Yeah, so I have the pictures on my phone, and I didn't do it with ChatGPT because I had run out of tokens, but it didn't give me any message about that I needed to wait. So I think that I probably have more tokens again. Because it does seem to me like Gemini is not as good at that stuff. Because I've done some of these that were amazing. I don't know if I ever showed you guys some of these. Let me see if I can find these other ones. Images. Yeah, it keeps the images. Yeah, it's that one right there. So I took that same picture that I showed you, and I asked it to do her as like an 80s anime. And it took me a really long time and trying different AI models to get the right prompt that would actually give me like straight up like anime. Because it would always do it like 3D-ish and things like that. But anyways, and isn't that cool? It looks exactly like her. How is that? Isn't that crazy? Right? And then I did another one. I said do an anime, but make her a vampire. Yeah, no, this one. And that one is even more amazing. Isn't that crazy? It's epic. It really is. It was really, really good. So I guess my point is, I've had more success with ChatGPT on those sorts of things. So let's see if I can do this. But I'm gonna say, give the girl in the girl with brown hair in the first picture, the hair style of the girl in the second picture. Keep the face the same as the first and don't merge facial features. Also keep the hair brown just to give her the haircut slash style second. Rox Neutrino says, ah, yes, what we all wish our women would look like on an everyday basis. Yeah. So hold on. But I can find a picture of us together. Hold on. What's the best picture of us together? I don't know. Here's one. Where was that? We were downtown. Is that while we were dating? Probably not. But I don't know why else we would be downtown together. There's a wedding picture with one of our single friends. GK asks, are you in Salt Lake City? Yeah, we're in Salt Lake City. Or does she have pictures of us together on her page? Probably I need to take some more recent pictures of us together because she's like so much thinner now than she ever was. So in some respects she looks younger than when I met her, actually. Kind of curious. I like this picture because it is more characteristic of what she looks like. Like it kind of shows you some of the facial features that she has that are unique. I know this is like seems so weird that I would like analyze a face like this, but I think it's from like messing around with ChatGPT a ton and everything that I've just kind of started to learn like what they call these things. So she has like downturned eyes, you see how it's kind of more, right? Whereas a lot of girls, their eyes are more like this, right? Kind of tilts up. She has downturned eyes, which is not common. And honestly, it seems like not in style, but it's actually way more popular than people realize, right? And she kind of has this area right here is a little bit more, I don't know how you describe it. It's more flat here. It's like high or regular cheekbones, but like flat cheeks. And then she's got like a really wide chin. So she has quite a like mini, but the really big thing is that, like, notice all of her facial features are really soft and round. That's what I think makes everybody, because when most people see her, they're like, oh, she's so very beautiful, like they find it striking. But I think it's because it's a combination of so many soft facial features is really unusual. Anyways, it looks like ChatGPT gave me the image, so let's see what it did. Yeah, that ChatGPT did a better job of it. Did a better job of it, at least. It still doesn't work for me. But it kept her face. It kept her face, and it did the hair better. It did do the hair better. I guess I would say that ChatGPT did the job, but I just don't like it. No, it wouldn't look good on her. It doesn't look good on her. Maybe she could look good with a short haircut, but not that haircut. But the main reason we were doing it is because she would never wear it. She would never get a haircut like this. There's no way. She has a similar nasal fold. Okay. That's not something that I've looked into or noticed before. Okay, wait, so go back here. GK, you guys look great together, thank you. Final asks how you met. I met her on Facebook. It's the lamest story, right? So in Utah, most people get married young, right? Like if you're older than 26, you're starting to get, and then past 30, it's kind of like what's the problem, right? And so if you're older, and we were both over 30 at the time, it's a lot harder to meet people in Utah. So, and I was dating a ton on Tinder. I would go out on a date 3 times a week for a year. For a whole year, it was like 3 dates a week. It wasn't always with different people. Like if the girl would come in and I would keep asking them out until it basically they would just kind of drop off on their own. But as long as they were still responding to me and things like that, I'd keep them in the rotation. But overall, I counted it out one time, and it was like 100 girls. It was like 100 different girls that I dated on Tinder. But then there was a Facebook group for LDS singles. And one time, somebody posted, like, we're having a hard time figuring out who the active guys are in the group. So what we want is for all of the guys to just post a picture, right? And so I posted a picture in the thread, and all of the girls that liked my picture, I added in message. So that's how I met her, basically. And in all honesty, I don't know if the circumstances had been different, that we would have met and hooked up and everything. But I think that the big kind of determining factor, aside from like the timing was right, was that she lived very close to me. She lived very close to me, so we started doing, because we were kind of like, well, I'm not ready for. I was still dating a ton of people, and I was going to do it for a year, so it wasn't to that period yet. but I was like, but you're really close, so that means that we're gonna have to be good friends, because otherwise, like, where's your support system? Neither of us were close enough, right? So I was over there all the time, and that's how it happened. Oh yes, GK asks, what is LDS? That's Mormon, yeah, because the real name of the Mormon Church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So we often abbreviate it as LDS. Like if you're looking for Facebook groups, it'll be like LDS singles is usually what they call them. Even though we're not supposed to use that abbreviation. Hey, Paul says, lol, I'm going to learn today. A Paul says, never talk her into short hair. I think long hair is amazing. It takes dedication. Talk her into longer hair. Tell her A Paul said it's all right. Long hair is the best. Well, I agree with you, but I like variation. So like the thing is okay, the hair is long, but what can you do to the hair that will make it look significantly different just for the sake of it looking different and doesn't involve like spending 2 hours a day on your hair, right? Because with long hair, it kind of turns into, I mean, there's different ways of cutting it, but I don't know if Seth would know what the difference between those are or like notice the difference between those. And the difference in your hair is mostly how you style it every day, right? Something that I do want to do when we're a little more comfortable. I'd say things are going pretty good right now. I'm getting some of the debts and everything that we picked up during my period of unemployment paid off. Is to do a little bit of like hair dye, like not to change the overall color, but just to give it dimension. Like, okay, if you go and you spend $1,000 on your hair, what do they do? I'd like to see that. You notice, for me, it's more like, it's just interesting to see what's possible and stuff, what works and doesn't work, right? But that's the thing, is that you don't really have to, she doesn't really have to go and get a haircut or change her hair or anything like that, right? Because I can just give it to ChatGPT. I could give it to ChatGPT with an example picture and see what that would have looked like. And then she doesn't have to do anything. It's great fun. I really quite enjoy it. I tell you, like 10 years from now, I'm going to be like, how did I ever live without AI? Like I can remember because it was only, wasn't very long ago. And a lot of the time I still prefer to not use AI. Like this week, man, Claude has been such a dunce this week. I don't know if it's just the different kinds of things that I'm doing or if like Anthropic nerfed him or something, but Claude has just been a complete dunce this week. Probably would have gone faster not talking to him. So sometimes, but 10 years from now, I think it's going to be like, how did I ever live without that? And probably not all positive things. Probably just like social media, I'm not going to realize the way that it's negatively affecting me until it's like way too late, right? Hey, Paul says, it just started heavy snowing, big snowflakes out of nowhere just now. Seriously, I don't even think it was in the forecast. Jeez. Yeah, it was 70 yesterday. It was actually a little bit hot for my workout. We got this weird thing because it was really cold, but not cold enough to freeze and to give us snow. And now all of a sudden it's 70, and the mosquitoes are so crazy. And I got bit like 7 times, and every single one of those turned into a huge welt. There was one that really got red and everything. Like it just probably not infected, but like really big immune reaction. That like a week afterwards, big, huge red welt. So now that it's 70, they're really coming out. And I sprayed so much bug spray on myself when I went into the garage to do my workout. And, you know, I have like the garage door open. And so I could kind of see the mosquitoes fly in from outside, and they would come into the room a little bit. And I don't know if it was they were smelling me, because I tried spraying stuff around the door. They didn't smell that. They must have smelled me. They'd like come in halfway and then suddenly be like, ah, no, this place sucks. And they immediately turn around and go out. It was like kind of slowly floating in, right? Oh, don't like that. Hilarious. Man. I spent, no joke, GK rather says, I spent, no joke, 10K on mosquito traps. I live in the forest and they did nothing. Ugh. Okay, so I got this thing that is like a it's like a black light. It's like a black light with a fan underneath of it. And I was really shocked at how well it works. Like, you go and you put that in your backyard and you just turn it on. GK says, yeah, Dynatrap. Yes, that's exactly what it was. And I still kind of have it, but I think I need to replace the light. Anyways, you leave that on for a week, and then you empty it out, and it was insane how many mosquitoes it would get. But is that actually effective? Like, overall, I don't know. So you know what actually works? I don't know what kind of mutant stuff we have out here, says GK. Okay, so my father-in-law was a nuclear safety inspector at a nuclear power plant out in the middle of nowhere in Texas. So, you know, nuclear plants always have to be near some sort of body of water for the cooling towers and stuff, right? And so they had a lot of mosquitoes, and they would have to do stuff for the mosquitoes. So what they would do is they had these giant circular propane burners, basically, and they would just burn propane. I kind of wonder what they do now, because I think now it would be with the politics and like climate change and carbon and all of that, it would be like that's like a big no-no. But basically, mosquitoes are attracted to the carbon dioxide. That's what brings them in. So that's also why it's kind of troublesome for me when I'm working out, because me working out and breathing heavy attracts the mosquitoes, because they can detect there's slightly more carbon dioxide over here. That must mean that there are animals over here breathing. So if you get a huge burner and just burn a ton of propane or whatever, it creates the carbon dioxide, and the mosquitoes smell that and are just attracted to it. They can't help it, and they all just burn. And he said that, like, it was unreal the amount of mosquito, like literally mountains of burned mosquitoes that they would pull out. So that's probably the best way. But there's also this thing, at least here in Utah, you can do like mosquito abatement. So like there's this service you can call that the state runs, that you say, hey, we're getting too many mosquitoes on our street. And they'll come and like spray the street or something. Isn't that weird? BK says, yeah, the one thing that kind of made a difference is the mosquito magnet. It hooks up to a propane. Oh, so you can buy them, huh? I would like to do that. Let's see here. What's it? I'll say a piece of advice it's hard to do right. You can purposely leave mosquito pools and then keep killing and refilling the pools to try to help a bit in an area. Well, that's interesting. Because as I froze the catch once after 4 days, literally 3,000 mosquitoes. But they never end. GK says, oh, talking about the propane tank, the mosquito magnet, they're very expensive, but they're slightly effective. However, they break all the time. They're incredibly difficult to fix. One of the issues is like for some, like where we used to live in West Valley in Utah. So like more Salt Lake proper, didn't really get very many mosquitoes. But for some reason we get them over here. So it really sucks. Because if you go outside, you really got to put it on. And then you don't want to like have that on you when you go to sleep. So it kind of ruins the going outside. I tell you what, man, we've gone like so far out of the way. How did we get talking about? I think that we only got talking about my wife at first because he said we have to mention her every day. But the thing is we have to mention her later. Like I think that she's still up in the, she's still asleep. I'm actually, before I go, because we got 40 minutes left, I'm gonna have to double check. Because she was like at 5 o'clock. Yeah, it was a little bit before 5 o'clock. She's like, what was that? I think it's an earthquake. And I'm like, I don't feel any earthquake. I think you were just feeling me rocking the bed in my sleep or something. I don't know. Anyways, so she probably really sleepy. Make sure that all the kids get going. One of the kids yesterday skipped school and didn't wake up until like 1 o'clock. And I was very upset. But then they went to bed early. So if they don't wake up on time today, I'm definitely going to be like, what the fuck is going on? How do you sleep like 16 hours? That's not right. So I will have to check on them. Let's see here. Vital asks, is pre-market trading since 8 to 9:30 a.m. Eastern time really worth the time? I would say so. So when it comes to the E-minis, I found that when you get a really good move in the E-mini, it usually starts at the top of the hour. So like the last 30 minutes. If you can kind of catch a trend the last 30 minutes, and then the open, they trend on the open, and that's where you can really catch those wild runners. So I found that there's a lot of opportunity at this time. For us in the treasuries, I've kind of just been hands off for a while, partly because I feel like I still need to get back into the swing of it. Like for so long I was not trading, explicitly not trading, because I didn't want to take on risk while I was looking for a new job. Now treasury volatility is just so low. It's unusually low. Like we've had all this crazy stuff happen in the Middle East. The price of oil has skyrocketed. The treasuries have sold off considerably, but the actual volatility measures themselves, like what people are paying for the options and things like that, are still unusually low. So there's something bizarre structurally happening in the treasury market. I think that it may be largely related to what's going on with the shift in Japan, because it does seem to me like that shift in Japan when the new party, kind of the new president and everything took over in Japan, is when it changed. So it might, but I'm hoping after the FOMC today that maybe it improves a little bit. Yeah, Japan withdrew liquidities from treasuries and somebody covered. Oh, yeah. So maybe there's a YouTube video I should go and find. But because I had heard things like that Japan was doing less with treasuries. So I've wondered if maybe that's why there's just less volatility, is that one of the, basically the largest player is not playing right now. And maybe eventually we can kind of sort out well, you can just take a tick or something like that. But for now, I'm just kind of watching what the market does and biding my time. What was the question that you had asked earlier that I kind of skipped over? Vital asked, are there Mormons in Europe or is it the US thing? Well, it's far, far more common in the United States for sure, but they're in Europe. It's definitely more popular in the United States. And the thing that's kind of interesting is that it's extremely like Mormon missionaries. You know, when you go to a place, how many people do you convert? How many baptisms do you do? And for a missionary in the United States, it averages out to be like one every 2 to 3 months. So I kind of outperformed that a little bit. I was more like 1.5 when I was a missionary thing. But you go to some places in South America and they're baptizing people like literally every day. Like it's insane the number of converts that they get down there. For some reason, they're really, really popular. South America. Not as popular in European countries. Was there anything else I had missed? I'm still thinking. So the reason I was thinking this morning about the whole, like we're too comfortable, but we're not comfortable enough, is that somebody was, I saw this video, and this guy was concerned about population decline. And he was complaining that in far right circles, they're talking about this and what can you do to improve fertility rates and whatnot. But they don't talk about it on the left at all. And so he was starting to go through on this. And I thought it was kind of funny listening to him talk, because I was kind of like, yeah, that's not going to work. A lot of the things that he's saying, I think, are kind of a little bit naive. But it kind of comes from a place of not really having anything to draw from, because liberals don't talk about it. But he did mention one thing that I did think was a good thing to point out, was that in polling, most people say that they don't have as many kids as they would like. And which is always kind of paradoxical, because like the more money you have, like the less likely you are to be having kids. It's really poor people that are more likely to have kids. So what's with that? My theory is that because we're chasing, because we have all these ambitions and everything, and the way that the corporate world works today, people never get into that peaceful feeling where your body feels like it's safe to have kids. And I think that's why fertility rates are going down so much. And it's even more extreme, I think, with women. Like, women are more prone to that. I think there's this thing like, okay, we want gender equality, and how do you define that? And for a lot of people on the left, it seems like that they define equality, or like the goal that they're trying to meet, as like how much, what portion of the economy is owned by women versus by men. Like if you take all wages, what percentage of those wages are from men and what percentage of those wages are from women, or some kind of per capita adjusted measure or something like that, right? And I just don't think that that's practical, because women respond to stress differently than men do. And I don't think that you can have all of the girls out there being super ambitious and climbing the ladder and maintain the same fertility rate. It's just not going to happen. If you want the fertility rate to go up, but you need to make it so that more women are able to stay home, but that if something happens, like they get divorced or their husband dies, it's easy for them to get into the workforce and make a good living. So that there's not this risk to being a stay-at-home mom. That's what you have to do is you have to make it easy for women to like economically comfortably be stay-at-home mom, but somehow eliminate the risk of being a stay-at-home mom. How do you do that? I can't. It kind of seems like impossible to me. It seems to me that the only way forward there is to accept that there is a risk and just minimize the chances of that happening as much as possible. Meaning, give people better education about what makes a good partner and how to be a good partner and become a good partner, so that the overall divorce rate goes down and domestic violence rates go down and things like that. Basically, reduce the risk of being a stay-at-home mom, but make it easier so that more women do it. Then you probably have more kids. Am I wrong? Let's see what you guys think. Hey, Paul. Well, the only ones having kids mostly are ones who do it accidentally way too young. Single mother stats reflect that actually too. It seems anyone who wants to do it, well, no, they never can. Well, the incidences of that though has dramatically decreased over the course of our lifetime, as my understanding at least. Andre says, I think economic stability and social pressure has a part there as well. In the 60s compared to today, you were more stable economically, and the social pressure to have children was much higher. Yeah. And not only that, but the pressure at work was different. These days, they're like companies are starting to say, if you've been at a job too long, it's a red flag, right? If like you've only ever had one job ever, that's a red flag to them. That's like you're not ambitious enough, right? If you've been in a role for 5 years and they are not promoting you, then you should move. But to boomers, that would be crazy. It used to be you would find a job at a company and you would literally do that the rest of your life. It wasn't until the 80s that things like mass layoffs started to become so common. And it really is like we're looking at the numbers lately. Like there's been a lot of corporate layoffs, right? But the economy hasn't actually broken. We haven't gone into a recession. It seems to me that is just kind of a permanent feature, that companies now will always be doing layoffs to kind of try and get rid of the cruft, and in all circumstances. Basically, it seems to me that the trend in the future is going to be towards less reliable income for everybody. Less reliable income for everybody. And that also seems to me to be a consequence from AI. Now, hopefully that is counteracted by something else that comes from AI, right? Like maybe AI makes people so productive that employment becomes inconsistent, but when you are employed, you make so much that it pays for the times when you're not. And people, you get to a lot of people that don't work the whole year. They only work like one season and that's enough for the whole year. Maybe that will become more common, you know? But what does that do to fertility, right? Because if you don't have a job most of the year, and there's still debt, people still have a lot of debt, you know, then I don't think people are going to be able to get into that place where they can have kids. Paul says they used to do layoffs to save themselves. They weren't punished. Now they know they can do layoffs to increase profits. Woo. And Future's been great, huh? Yeah. Yeah, and then the stock rewards them for it. So overall in the United States, the percentage of the economy that goes to wages versus capital, like capital is getting an increasingly larger portion of the pie. And capital is like the lowest that it's been in like 100 years. I think that that's a problem. I don't like the solutions that a lot of left-wing people present, but like the economists on the left that actually like know what the data is and are able to go in and pull up the right chart and are able to pull up that like, look, like less money is going to wages. They're pointing out a key problem. They really are. Andre, we might have been in a percentile of the distribution over time where we were a lot of people above the mean, and we might correct slowly like this, and it happens worldwide. Excuse my expression, but you know what I mean. Population over time might be a stochastic process. Well, one of the things that I'm seeing that bothers me is like people are having less kids. Maybe that's a sign that there's a problem, that there's like less economic opportunity. And so what do countries do? Instead of taking that as a sign and letting the system balance itself back out naturally, they import people so that you never are forced to equalize. That's what's happening. I think that if for the past 50 years we had a really, really strict immigration policy and we weren't really bringing anybody in, that we would have been forced to face a lot of our issues sooner. We're really using immigration as a band-aid for much, much deeper problems that have been allowed to fester and really will dramatically degrade the society. Hey, Paul. 100% considering if I had a kid, either me or my kid would have to go hungry because welcome to America, how fun. Well, and that's why we don't. America won't fix this one. It's like crazy how expensive kids are. This was always happening somehow. Think about the Silk Road of English with French people coming to America. Well, yeah, was people wanting to immigrate to America always going to happen? Maybe. I mean, the thing is that it really seems to me like the politicians have created a lot of incentives for people to immigrate to America, because you can immigrate illegally and then there's all these services that you can take advantage of. Do you know that like back in the day, like what we would consider the golden age of immigration in America, which is like the late 1800s, early 1900s, and everybody would come in through Ellis Island and all of that sort of stuff. Apparently half of those immigrants ended up going back home. Like they weren't able to really make it in America, and then they went back home. Can you believe that? I don't remember where I got that from. I've never been able to verify that, but somebody on TikTok claimed that, and I was really shocked by that. I guess the reason why, though, I've kind of come to some of the conclusions that I've had is that, like, when we had our first child together, and he was autistic, and once we started to realize he was autistic and having to deal with him being autistic, you're on edge all the time. And I can just see night and day the difference in the house and everything. Right? It was kind of a little bit of a luck and a little bit of maybe a mistake that we were able to have another one after that. Right? And then we're definitely not going to have a third or a fourth. So I don't know if we could afford it. I don't know if her body could handle more, But then there's like too much stress as it is with an autistic child, right? So like the stress goes up, and then the desire to have more children just completely disappears. So then I look at myself, and I remember younger being so ambitious and constantly having ideas, and nowadays it's like, well, and back then I did a lot of stuff, but I was never able to like fully go all the way into something to really like make it, I think. Because I think there was a lot of things that I did that was like, I was doing something that could have been something. Like I was before the rush, right? Like I was into electronic dance music and DJing before like the big 2010 festival age, right? I was into certain games and streaming before they became big and stuff, right? I was into quantitative finance before quantitative finance became a big thing, right? But there was always one little thing, like the circumstances were just never quite right, you know? And one of the things that was the most difficult was that I was still dealing with ADHD and I didn't really know how to be super productive. Now I'm in a place where I do know how to be super productive, and I can be super productive at my job, but I either don't have the time to pursue my own interests, or I just don't have the ideas, the desire to just put everything into it. It's like the ambition is gone, but I'm able to just be me and be happy and calm at home and do things that are maybe even boring. So there's like a real advantage to that. So like, what's the balance? How do you be productive, be ambitious, and have success in those things, and not like absolutely kill yourself with the stress of pursuing that? Because it seems to me like they are diametrically opposed. That finding balance and calm in your life is diametrically opposed to having ambition. Maybe it's just an age thing. You have the ambition when you're in your 20s because you need it, and now I don't need it. I found the place and the body wants to go into. Let's do our thing. I don't know. So that was the whole thing I'd kind of been thinking about getting into this morning. Check in here, see if there's any news stories or anything. What has the Iran war done to Trump's approval rating? Public apathy grows. Only 45% care. A lot. Well, yeah, because I think that we've been in it for so long now that it's just kind of like a run-of-the-mill thing. It's really funny. On TikTok, when I get on TikTok, all I get in trading related content is TJR's been exposed, yada yada yada. All of those TikTokers are trying to use the TJR video from iMan Trading to boost themselves on TikTok. And I'm just like, it's another Monday. This happens every week. There's always some guru out there being exposed, right? Well, that's where I think people are with most political things now. They've kind of realized the way that the political system works, and they kind of realized that social media has had them on edge, panicking about everything all the time for like a good 10 years now, and they just don't care. Which is really ironic because with Iran now something is happening that actually matters. This conflict in Iran and the way that the conflict in Iran plays out is probably going to determine the world order and the way that things go in the world for the next 50 years. It's huge. And we're all just kind of like, whatever. Trump's gonna Trump. Okay. It's wild. PayPal says it's normal. Other people trying to use someone's downfall for their own magic gain to showcase how real and legit they are. Yeah. One of the things that really irks me is that fake gurus will take down other fake gurus to try and gain your trust, right? Well, if I'm pointing out other scammers, then that must mean that I'm legit. And people completely fall for it. People completely fall for it. And, you know, there's definitely a group of us that are kind of prone to wanting to white knight like that. These guys are taking advantage of people. I want to do something to reduce the number of people that fall prey to that. And like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like, you get like the same audience that YouTube would have given you anyways for other things. It seems to me to be more productive to focus on what we're doing and what we know and can learn and prove and not prove it, rather than spending all the time trashing other people. Because at the end of the day, the people that understand the reality is like, there's only a small subsection of people that are actually going to get it for some reason. And I don't feel anymore that I can actually change that ratio. Or if I could say it like more bluntly, it seems to me that a really large percentage of the people that get into day trading are complete dunces and are always going to fail no matter what. And you're wasting your time trying to save them. You'd think, oh, it's trading, you know, it's like a complicated thing that should attract a certain sophisticated type of person. But the reality is it doesn't. I think our channel does, because we talk about really sophisticated things and we're taking a dive into the market that most people get. But most people that are attracted to trading, they don't find that content interesting, engaging, that even if they sit and listen to it, they don't believe it. And I'm convinced that the community will always be that way. So aren't the best and the brightest, because if they were, they would have some other job that wouldn't provide them enough time or energy for day trading. So only could be this small cut of people that are like tech workers that have the energy for that. And that's us. Probably shouldn't say those things, but I'm kind of also starting to come into like, I've been too nice the past year or two. I need to start being mean again. Mean and controversial and telling stupid people that they're stupid. Maybe not. I don't know. I can't remember why I stopped doing that. So on Zero Hedge, one of the stories I see here, this title, Europe is getting hit from all sides and the euro is cracking. So like yesterday, the kind of the general sense that I was getting was that Europe is trying to distance itself from the Iran conflict as much as it possibly can. I think largely because it's Donald Trump and they don't like that he went in. But it seems to me like Europe is really harmed by it. And I just can't see like what is the point at which they kind of go, actually we do need to do something. Do we ever get to is there a line there? I kind of wonder. Oh, I missed this comment from Andre. What's he say? Speaking of jobs, I got an offer in real estate as a broker, and I think it's the right moment to jump in as I was laid off, and I have some money from compensation plus other things. And Apal says, if you're confident, go for it. So do you not have to have a real estate license or something, or do you already have it? We require certification in America. Okay, so if you can get hired by the right real estate team, it's a very lucrative career. So there are some teams that are like, they just sell homes, right? And they might give you leads and stuff, and then you go and you drive people around, that sort of a thing. And that can be rough depending on the market that it is. Okay. But if it's like a home builder, like getting signed on as a real estate agent for a new home developer is such an amazing gig. Oh my gosh. Those guys make so much bank. Vital made 500 on ES today. Wow. Well, on full ES 50, yeah, it's like a point, right? Or sorry, that's like 10 points. It's been moving today. It looks like that the S&P kind of halted their slide. Treasuries are still just kind of sitting down here. So it really looks to me like all the action was front running the PPI news and then just sliding a little bit further. The dollar, sorry, not the dollar, gold, copper, Japanese yen, Bitcoin, treasuries, they all kind of went the same way. And frankly, even equities went the same way, but equities have bounced a little bit. Andre says, talking about the real estate thing, I'm more than confident and I know I'll like it. I don't know I want to work at the desk anymore. And since I work on my computer for trading and stuff, I don't want to prolong that with my job. I don't think that's a huge deal, because you just gotta, you just have to compensate with it by having an extremely active workout of some sort, right? Like I do Olympic weightlifting. Olympic weightlifting really, really works your posterior chain and kind of counteracts the effects of sitting at a desk all day. Plus, like, being a real estate agent isn't really necessarily worth sitting at a desk all day. There's a lot more talking to people. I really think, like, if anything happens from AI, I think it should be that a larger percentage of people are doing jobs that involve working directly with other people. Most of the things that is like, you know, lock an engineer in a room and for a month and then they pump out the thing. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of that going on anymore. I don't think that necessarily means less jobs overall. I think that AI will supercharge the economy so much that it will create more jobs, and even more jobs in the computer science field then we know what to do with. It's just that those jobs will probably involve spending more time talking to stakeholders and other people to sort out what actually needs to be done. The AI can't do that, right? There's information that to design a system, right? There's information that the AI needs to make the correct decisions that it does not have any way of collecting. And the only way that you can collect it is having people going out there and having interactions and doing things, right? It's the alignment issue. Like, there's alignment, like, well, we want to make sure that the AI doesn't, like, try to kill us all, right? But if we guarantee that we have AI that is benevolent, let's say we have AI that's perfectly benevolent and is super intelligence, right? And it can program anything, it can do anything. The problem that you're going to have is that the AI will not have access to the data that it needs to make the decisions that it needs to make correctly. And you'll say, oh, well, we just need to get the data in there. And it will turn out that data doesn't exist. There are certain things that you have to do, interactions and things that you're doing that generate that data. It's the economic calculation problem, right? Without people going out into the economy and buying things and having, ownership over things, there's no way to know like what the actual true supply and demand is for things. Right? And it's going to be the same thing with AI. You're going to get into a business and you're designing a system. What do you tell the AI to do? You won't know without having people that are in roles to be over certain systems and certain technical aspects and talk to each other. Them talking. And then you can have the AI be a listener in all of the meetings. And then the AI, based on the meetings, can make all of the correct decisions. Right? That's what that future would look like. It wouldn't actually get rid of all these jobs. KAVGGFJ asks, why do you have your ESDOM aggregated in points? Thanks. So I do not actively trade the S&P 500. And if I don't have it aggregated, there you get so much movement over there. It's just really distracting. I find it a lot easier to keep track of what is going on in a less liquid instrument by aggregating the ticks. You notice that I've also done the same thing with oil. I'm aggregating every 10 cents. It is so illiquid over there, and it is way easier to keep track of what's going on there. If I'm going to execute, the number of contracts on the bid or the offer really matters. So if I was going to trade ES, maybe I would have two DOMs, one that's aggregated and one that's not. But since I don't directly trade it, and I don't have that problem over here in the treasuries because they're so liquid, that's why I do it that way. Oh my, it's already 8:02. Well, I guess it's time for me to get going, huh? Yeah, so I do tomorrow. Gotta remind me, I think I want to spend some more time on our trading system because we're getting close over there. Yeah. Anyways, I don't think that's all we really needed to talk about today. It just until we've had the Federal Reserve meeting. I mean, tomorrow we'll have a lot to analyze, right? And then on the PPI on top of that, and maybe then we'll have a better framework to sort out like the impact of inflation from the energy prices and everything else versus the economic damage, and how does the Federal Reserve think about that in trying to predict the interest rates. But for now, we just got to wait for the meeting. So see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent.